Since the beginning of Yu-Gi-Oh, I have tried really hard to validate one of my favorite archetypes, cards, the Dark Magician, and tried everything to make him meta, from when spell counters, doing a spell counter magician deck from when it began, all the way to, using fusions to make, when Dark Paladin was actually a strong card, all the way to making GOAT format Dark Magician Girl deck really powerful, comboing into a Quintet Turbo. And my efforts have kind of always been in vain. And I promised that I would show you guys a Dark Magician deck since 2021 that was good, that was affordable, and that was competitive. I'll be honest, Dark Magician's not a great archetype. It has really powerful cards that do really powerful things, but the actual archetype itself is lackluster. But what I did do is I cheated a little bit, and I actually ended up making a deck that wasn't bad. It's not Dark Magician. It has elements of Dark Magician, but we still need something competitive. We need something fast. We need something that's going to be useful. So today I'm going to break down one of the most confusing, most technical decks I've built in a very long time. I want to apologize because the deck isn't really budget friendly. It does compete. I will tell you this, and I will tell you that I'm still on that road to try and make Dark Magician competitive. But as of right now, this is the best that I've come up with. And after the Yu-Gi-Oh! Extravaganza finals, I kind of feel validated in this deck. As you are aware, and as you've seen, I've built a deck very similar to what actually won first place. It was actually really, really weird to see that deck in action, because it was almost card for card what I built. Almost. Obviously, everyone plays their own way, has their own spice, does their own variant of things, and has their own ratios of cards. But this deck's a little different, and we're actually going to go by engine and really take a look at what this deck is. Alright guys, it's been a long time since I've actually done a deck profile, and I know for a lot of people that's what they came to see as a deck profile. So today we're going to talk about this. We're going to call it a really spicy Dark Magician deck. More invoked Dogmatica Eldritch than Dark Magician, but it does actually use Dark Magician as not really a base, but an engine. And I try to use the best cards for the engine in order to do what it needs to do, because it needs to get out strong extra deck monsters, it needs interruption, and it needs negates. So let's break this deck down engine by engine. Starting with the main deck, we are running 2 Dark Magicians. I do want to just real quick, I'm going to flex a little. This is an original LOB. It's not a first edition LOB, but it is one of my favorite cards. This isn't a first edition starter deck Yugi, but again, it is one of my favorite cards. And that's how long I've been trying to play Dark Magician. We do need Red Eyes Black Dragon for the Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. This kind of right now is a placeholder. I'm actually trying to get my hands on Silent Magician, but this actually can and has come up for me in play when I do run the Dark Magicians and it does get destroyed. We're running 2 Magician's Rods in order to search out our Dark Magician cards, because we're not just using this for Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, even though you very well could. We are playing 1 copy of Circle, which is one of the best cards to help stack your deck and Interruption. We're also running 2 Secrets of Dark Magic, because there are times where he does come into your hand. You can draw Dark Magician, Red Eyes Black Dragon, and since we're running 2 rods, this is searchable off of Rod, because it does mention Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl. Now, if you get Dark Magician Girl in your hand and you have Secrets of Dark Magic, it's not going to be as much of a brick with this either, because we're running the Dark Magicians, which is what kind of makes this not very budget friendly. We are running our 1 copy of Red Eyes Fusion. I did decide to go ahead and get the Ultra Rare, even though I do have the Super. The Ultra just looks good. And 1 Eternal Soul. Because when we're using our Dark Magical Circle, we can use our Eternal Soul, and it does become a form of interruption. And that's really great for the deck when you can't just send something. Some things can be targeted still that have targeting protection, but there aren't a whole lot of things that have banish protection. So this does come up, and it is a good form of interruption. We've got it's a small engine, and really this is more for Dragoon, but this does help us in our gameplay quite a bit. Is it necessary with the rest of the cards? Not really, but I do find that it does boost the consistency of things that I want to do. And using Secrets of Dark Magic, it really does help so that Invocation isn't our only fusion option. One of the most powerful engines in Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now is also one of the smallest engines, and it's one of the most consistent. I'm running 2 Alistair the Invokers, 2 Magical Meltdowns, and 2 Invocations. This is the most consistent thing that you can do. As long as they don't ash your Alistair, you're good. You running this deck, what makes it kind of more technical and confusing is learning to bait negates. Because for the last several years, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has become how many negates can you walk through? How many negates can you set up? What kind of board can you set up? Can you break your opponent's board and still be able to make your own board? Alistair is one of the most dependable engines, and using Magical Meltdown really does help in telling your opponent, no, you can't negate my fusion summons. This is what's happening. Also, one of the more consistent engines, and something that really does help not just fill in gaps, but does help you with main deck recursion. Well, not so much recursion, but main deck dependency is your Dogmatica core. I am running 1 Ecclesia, 1 Fleur-de-Lis, 1 Maximus. I am running Fallen of Albaz. He is literally a super poly on legs, which is amazing. And 3 Nadir Servant. And of course, our extra deck does really accommodate what's going on here. We can window lock, we can use Natis to pop cards, does target. This right here helps with negates, getting out stuff from the extra deck, even though these all lock you out of the extra deck except for Albaz. I find it more as extra deck support than anything. But the Dark Magician archetype really does help accentuate the main deck considering these do lock you out of the extra deck, Dark Magician is still a powerful option in the main deck. 2,500 attack, 2,100 defense. I mean, it is still a strong attack, even though it is a vanilla monster, and it does actually complement this really well. One of the better trap strategies in the entire game right now is Eldritch, the Golden Lord. And his engine actually can be about as big as you want. Now, there's Wakiro, there's, Cursed Eldland, so on and so forth. I have decided the only things I really need to run this engine in the metagame currently is Eldritch himself. He does recur from the graveyard. He can target and send cards to the graveyard by discarding spells and traps. You can use his own archetype in order to do that. And a lot of these cards help with destruction, summoning, or even just non-targeting. Take away all your opponent's attack points. So I find that this is a very powerful combo. So we're running a lot of engines, and the timing is weird because this will lock you into zombies. So you have to kind of play Eldritch on your opponent's turn and use it really as a trap-based strategy as it was intended, and really use it for not really niche plays, but really niche timing. Because if you don't, the engine can hurt you more than it helps you, but I find that if you use Eldritch correctly, man, this really does. It really boosts consistency, yes, but the ability to play around other cards in the meta, Eldritch is a good answer to a lot of it. Now, since my entire deck pretty much is Interruption, you don't really need to play a whole lot of Interruption, and it's kind of more or less what you feel you need to play. But right now I am playing 2 Ash Blossoms in order to stop the draw or stop the send. I'm playing 2 Ghost Ogres to more or less, now she doesn't negate, but she does remove problem cards on the field if they can be destroyed. And I'm running 2 Impermanents. You can run any 6 hand traps you want. Nibiru is honestly not a bad option. As a matter of fact, Nibiru is a great option, and I am running it in the side. My side deck for this deck is really small and kind of niche because, again, the whole deck is Interruption. So playing a whole bunch of hand traps is not something you really need to do in this deck, but these are the hand traps that I have found complement the deck the most. And of course, no fusion deck is complete without fusion options, such as Super Poly. I am also running Shaddoll Schism. This is for Winda. Shaddolls aren't as good as they used to be as far as main deck is concerned. And Winda, in all honesty, people are able to do lots of things. Chalice, they're able to Forbidden Droplet, they're able to do a lot. But it does help with that targeted removal. Dark is still one of the strongest attributes in the game. And honestly, special summons, they don't bother me as much. But getting that removal as well, and then having Schism on the board as something to recur my Eldritch from the graveyard, because after Schism does its job, it's done its job. Now it's just taking up a magic or trap zone. Why not use it for Eldritch? And now I do have one-ofs, and even though it seems a little outdated, I do play Monster Reborn, because Monster Reborn does help me with extension. It's nice to be able to go into Monster Reborn with my Alistair, summon Alistair, link off for Artemis, then Monster Reborn Alistair to go into Predaplant, and then continue my combo. Instead of playing a third Magical Meltdown, I play Terraforming because sometimes I just want the shuffle. I used to play Metaverse and add all that stuff on my opponent's turn to kind of psych my opponent out, but I've decided I don't really need to play 4 copies of one card. Just 3 copies and help with the shuffle. You know, I could put another field spell in the deck, like Magician's Salvation, but I feel like that just bricks the deck. And I am playing Harpy's Feather Duster currently. Back row removal is nice. Doesn't always come up, and it's not always necessary. It's not searchable. I could really play something like Dark Magic Attack instead, but that requires Dark Magician to be on the field, which, even though he's on the field a bit, he's not on the field enough. For the extra deck, it kind of is the same almost every time. I am playing 1 Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, which, I mean, he's my negate. He can be a 1-card win. The Dark Magicians. This effect is amazing. After resolution of a spell or trap from either opponent, from you or your opponent, you can actually draw and set spell or trap cards and use them on that turn, which is really good for a trap-based strategy like Eldritch. This really complements the deck and actually does come up. Upon destruction, I can summon my Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl. Titaniclad. You could use Titaniclad to walk Albaz into one of your problem monsters that your opponent has, since it's, you know, there. I use it to send him to the graveyard in order to summon either one of my Ecclesias or Fleur-de-Lis or Maximus, but the reality is you could use him for fusion, but that's not what he's there for. I am using Construct again. I didn't think I would use Construct again, but there are times where I just like my hand enough to where I need to recur the Schism from the graveyard after I've tossed it with Apt Cologne, because Apt Cologne is going to get your Schism no matter what. And of course, Wind is here for the Windelock and to remove dark monsters off the field with Schism. We are running Mechaba. You know, he's necessary. Purgatrio can be your OTK. We're also running Raijin is a wonderful disruption. He can flip himself face down. He can flip other cards face down once per turn. And for Bird Up, he is Wind. So you do have that option, as well as Agadeus. He's great because he sends, targets and sends special summon monsters, and he activates on either opponent's turn. Starving Venom Fusion for that Super Poly. Elter Entity Natis for the pop. And then we have our Link monsters, which everything is really meant to just extend or summon. Artemis is meant literally just to go into Mechaba, for the Plant Verde Anaconda really to go into your Dragoon plays, and Selene to recur any of my spellcasters that I need at the time. May it be Ecclesia, Winda, Dragoon, Dark Magician, the Dark Magicians. It's a free Monster Reborn for any of my spellcasters, and since I do run so many spells, it's not super reliant on how many spells I've run or how many spells my opponents run, I should say. I can pretty much get 6 counters on her myself, which is fantastic. I haven't 100% figured out the sideboard yet because, like I said, this deck is Interruption, and I do need to side every once in a while. I do use my Kaijus and the light Kaiju in order to help Super Poly. I am running Nibiru because Nibiru is one of the most high impact hand traps right now of this current meta, but a lot of people are playing mid-range, so Nibiru doesn't always come up. And then I am playing Cosmic Cyclone for those things that just recur and recur and recur. You know, hitting a blackout with it isn't exactly the thing I want to do, but my sideboard is really small, and that is something I will absolutely take suggestions on. But for right now, I can't find anything outside of this that I really need in the sideboard currently. And I know that's a fool's errand, but that's just for right now. Remember, our decks are always constantly evolving. It takes a lot of the good parts of the Dark Magician archetype and really tries to blend them together with other good archetypes that complement it. That's the whole idea of this deck, is these complement each other. From the Dogmaticas, the Invoked, the Dark Magician, the Eldritch, it all blends together. And that's the thing that I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to see what I can run Dark Magician with in order to make it viable. Even though Dark Magician himself isn't viable, I'm running him with 3 other good engines that seem to complement each other. But tell me what you think, guys. And, you know, we're going to try to get more deck profiles out. From here, it's your move.